Welcome to my channel. I will talk about Transaction Account Builder or Confusion Procurement. What I will cover TAB Transaction Account Builder, TAT Transaction Account Definition, and TAT Transaction Account Types. What our agenda will be: introduction about these three topics or three definitions, background and business requirements, building blocks, what is the relation between TAB, TAT, TAT, predefined tab setup, what is a predefined tab already provided by Oracle Cloud, how to set up tab to default accrual, charge, variance account. Let's start by introduction. Transaction Accounting Builder provides a flexible mechanism to derive accounting flexfields for subledger transactions. For example, purchase requisition and the purchase order have several accounts stored on them, right? The three mandatory accounts are charge account, the account against which the money spent is finally withdrawn or charged. Variance account, account against which an entry is created to record a variance for a certain kind of spending. For example, price variance between a purchase order and invoice. Accrual account, intermediary account which records money spent for goods or services that have been consumed or taken ownership of but are yet to be invoiced. An entry against the account is reversed once the money is physically spent or the invoice is issued. In addition to these three accounts, there are two other accounts for more advanced procurement scenarios, where there is an intercompany transactions involving a procuring organization and a destination organization. These accounts are destination charge account, a charge account belonging to the destination organization, destination variance account, a variance account belonging to the destination organization. Your organization can automate the derivation of these accounts on transactions based upon their organization policies. Derivations are required to build these accounts on transactions such as requisitions or purchase orders. The Transaction Account Builder as a tab component of the subledger accounting engine builds or defaults the account on transaction, so the appropriate accounting entries are created against transaction accounts. What about background? Transaction Account Builder as a tab is a new concept in Oracle Applications Cloud, replacing all prior account generator solutions. If you remember, prior to the Oracle Application Cloud's other products line had a similar need to default transaction accounts, but filled the need using different solutions. For example, in Oracle e-Business Suite, Oracle Purchasing uses the account generator workflow to derive account code combinations on purchase orders and requisitions. Oracle Purchasing provides default account generator processes for you to use. If the defaults don't satisfy your accounting requirements, you can use the Oracle Workflow Builder to customize the default processes. In Oracle Application Cloud, Account Generator Workflow is replaced by TAB, Transaction Account Builder. Oracle Application Cloud also delivers predefined account defaulting rule within Transaction Account Builder. This rule addresses the common defaulting scenarios and facilitates further rule extensions, avoiding the need of customers or implementers to create them from scratch. Again, in Oracle Application Cloud, tab configuration is significantly easier than workflow customization in Oracle e-Business suite. You accomplish tab configuration within the subledger accounting application instead of in a separate technology tool. And also for the PeopleSoft, and there is chart fields. For GD Edward application, account generator is done by AAI as automatic accounting instruction. Account generator workflow has been obsoleted in Fusion and replaced by SLA transaction accounting builder process. The building blocks. If you see here the building blocks, before talking the building blocks, let's talk about understanding the business. Before you can set up tab to derive accounts, you must understand the business requirement that derive the accounts on your transaction. Different business can have completely different requirements, from something simple such as deriving the charge account from the requester's default expense account to more complex flow involving projects and segment distribution rules. The first step is to analyze the requirement and use cases. It's important to understand and formulate your business needs and how you would like to derive the accounts on the procurement transactions, such as requisitions and POs, as purchase orders. This will enable you to evaluate whether the predefined default setup works for your organization or if you need to modify the setup for your specific business needs. So it's very important to understanding the business before starting the setup to derive accounts. In order to understand tab, you first need to understand the building blocks for this slide. These building blocks make up the structure of tab. As you see here, TAT and TAT, segment overlay rule, account combination rule, and all of these. At the top of the level transaction accounting definition, TAT, which defines the account rule assignments used to derive the transaction accounts on a purchase order and requisition. This includes both rules that define the entire account combination, as well as rules which can define how certain segments of the account are generated. In other words, TAT specify which rules are used to derive which accounts on procurement transactions. Below TAT are number of transaction account types, TAT. Transaction account types are elements that represent each transaction account on procurement transactions. There are 5 such transaction account types for 5 different accounts exposed on procurement transaction. This is the definition of TAT and TAT. What about these 5 such transaction account types for 5 different accounts exposed on procurement transaction? First one, charge account, an account against which the money spent is finally withdrawn or charged. What about variance account? Certain situations call for a variance to be recorded for a certain kind of spending. An entry is created against this account for all such variances. For example, the price variance between BO and invoice. What about the main account, the accrual account, an intermediary account which records money spent for goods or services that have been consumed or taken ownership of, but are yet to be invoiced? An entry against this account is reversed once the money is physically spent. For example, a check cashed and invoice paid. Fourth account, destination charge account belonging to the destination organization. Destination variance account, a variance account belonging to destination organization. The building blocks. Again, each of these transaction account types have assigned predefined source by default source. The source are attributes in the transaction that can be used to determine the derivation of the account combination. For example, there can be a business requirement to default account A as a charge account when the purchase order destination type is expense, or account B when the destination type is in this example, destination type is predefined as a source and is assigned to the charge account, so that it is possible to other rules to derive charge account combinations. The source assignment cannot be altered. For the account rule for each transaction account type are derived from account rules. A rule can apply to the entire account combination as account combination rule, or just for a particular segment as segment rule, specified by rule type. Each account rule comprises one or more rules with specified conditions that dictate when they are applied. For example, there can be a rule with priority 1 saying the purchase charge account is derived from the requisition charge account when cross business unit equal in and the requisition charge account is not null. We will see this later in the setup section. You can also use both segment rule and account combination rules to derive a single account. Segment rules are used when they are defined and take the remaining values from an account combination rule. For example, you can select an account combination rule that applies to all segments and select a separate segment rule that applies to one particular segment. Take care that the segment rules take precedence over the account combination rule. For the account or mapping set can be used to associate a specific output value for an account or segment. You can use mapping set in account rules to build the account. Use mapping sets to define a specific output value within an account or a segment. Based on the input value from subledger transaction or reference information, a specific value can be assigned to a segment or values. Also, a segment or values can be assigned to all segments of the account. Mapping set provide an efficient way to define the output values and are easier than using account rule condition. To define mapping sets, pairs of values are specified for each input value. Specify a corresponding account combination or segment output value. One or more related pairs of these input values with the segment or account output values form a mapping set. Use value sets or lookup types for validating the input values of the mapping set. For example, assume business has 3 major spend classifications: software, hardware, and miscellaneous. The business has a natural account segment in their chart of accounts. Category names which drive spend classifications such as a PO and requisition are input values in the application transactions. These input values can be included with other information about the transaction and become part of the source information. Users can create a mapping set that maps category names to the corresponding natural account as described or as discussed before. You can make input value, for example, software, and the natural account segment 0001. The other input value as a hardware and the natural account segment value as 0002. The third one as a miscellaneous as input value, and natural account segment will be 0003. Next one is a source. Source is any transaction attribute on requisition or purchase order that is registered with a subledger and available for TAT transaction accounting builder to build accounts from. For example, item category name is a source and can be used as an input parameter to a mapping set. The source can also be an accounting flex field. As an example, requisition charge account is a source, can be used to derive the PO charge account defaulting. Sources can also used in the account rule conditions to determine when a rule should be applied. To summarize, sources can be used in the following tab configuration: account rule values, both account combination rules and segment rules, conditions for account rule setup, input source in mapping setup or set setup. Understanding the predefined or the seeded tab setup, Oracle Procurement Cloud provides predefined standard setup for tab so that customers can complete their transactions such as, again, requisitions and purchase orders with minimal configuration. Most typical business needs can be addressed using the delivered setup with minimal modifications. These slides will explain the predefined setups. Seeded tab or predefined tab sources. As you see here, this section or this slide describes the default predefined sources that you can use to create account rule setup. Note that you cannot add or modify these sources. So these sources are the sources which are available to all 5 transaction types. If you see here a subledger application purchasing, source name blanket purchase agreement, blanket purchase referred or referenced by PO line. Again, for the same application, purchasing blanket purchase agreement line as a header and line, blanket line referenced by PO line, and so on. Purchasing buyer identifier from PO, cross PO category is from PO line or requisition line, and so on. Again, continue the seeded tab sources for the purchasing. Here for the accrual account transaction type, subledger application is the purchasing, source name expense accrual, purchasing mapping set expense account accrual business unit with business unit as a parameter. For local orders, requisitions, and global orders, use profit center PO of the PO trade organization. For the account payable accrual account for inventory item, cost management mapping what? Mapping set accrual account organization with organization as parameter. Again, for local order, ship to org, global order. The seeded tab source for the variance account transaction type, again the application purchasing, source name requisition variance account, distribution of the requisition, PO charge account for charge account from PO requisition distribution, ship to organization price variance, purchasing trade organization price variance. This ship to as a cost management mapping set invoice price variance account, and also for purchasing trade for mapping set invoice price variance account. Still continue the seeded for the charge account transaction type, still ledger application purchasing, source name item category name you can use for purchasing natural account from category inputs. Also the same for requisition business unit name, requisition charge account, cost of goods sold, and all of these. This is the subledger application, source name, comment. Again, this is the seeded by seeded or predefined sources that you can use to create account rules setup, and again you cannot add or modify these sources. Setup tab to defaults. Setup tab to default accrual account, setup tab to default charge account, setup tab to default variance account. So how to default these 3 main accounts for tab transaction account builder. Let's start by setup tab to default accrual account. Let's get into application. I'm here in application. Once you log in, just navigate to setup and maintenance, then choose the offering procurement, then select purchasing, or you can go to global search and search by search. You can search by manage account rule, manage account rules, this one, go to down, or quickly you can click done and search by define transaction account rule. Transaction account this one, and manage account rules, and select purchasing accrual account rule. If you see my slide default accrual, this is the accrual, and this is the charge, and this is the variance. Click on first one as accrual account rule. So note how the accrual account is defaulted. According to the predefined rule, the accrual account is defaulted from the source expense accrual account when purchase order destination type is expense, or when cross PU as a business unit equal yes, this source map to the purchasing mapping set expense accrual account business unit. This condition cross business unit yes, or destination type code BOSS equal expense. So this is the default for a rule PO accrual account, the rule for defaulting accrual account in purchasing document. Short name BO underscore account ECC as accrual underscore account. However, if the destination type is inventory and this is not a global procurement scenario, the accrual account is defaulted from the source accounts payables accrual account for inventory item. Accounts payable accrual account for inventory item. So this is if the destination type is inventory and not a global procurement scenario. In this case, the accrual account is defaulted from source accounts payables accrual account for inventory item. This source maps to the cost management mapping set accrual account organization. If you click here down, here cross destination type code view as inventory, or destination type code dropship, or destination type code is manufacturing. But if you click up, only expense. So this is the source, this is the value, this is the condition, this is again source as a value type, values and conditions. Then navigate to the manage mapping set task, click on done. In the define transaction accounting, manage mapping set, again I can click done. Here manage mapping set, and go to down, edit expense accrual account business unit. You have to select the appropriate chart of account and ensure that a mapping exists for your sold to business unit. It will be same as requisitioning business unit in a local procurement scenario. If a mapping doesn't exist, create a new one and specify the appropriate account. Here, sold to the business unit name. Here you will add the chart of accounts. What is your chart of accounts? And the mapping here. And if your business uses inventory item, set up the mapping set accrual account organization for the cost management subledger. And click create business unit sold to business unit name, which is business unit. This is the output and effective start date and end date. So here you can enter the business unit name, without space, and here enter the appropriate account. This is our text field as a segment. You can fill the account, for example, any account, and you can put effective start date and effective end date. And again, you can add a lot of more chart of account with a lot of inputs as sold to business unit and output as the appropriate account. So this how to mapping the first account here as default accrual account for TAT. Cancel. Yes. Done. Again, you can go to for purchasing expense account item and do the same to assign business unit and appropriate account for your accrual account. So for the define transaction account rules, you first go to manage account rules, check setup there, and then go to manage mapping set to make the mapping between the source or business unit and appropriate account. Again, for the manage account rules, second one is charge account. The same, instead of accrual, go to purchasing charge account rule. You will notice here that the charge account is defaulted without any configuration required. According to the predefined rules, the charge account is defaulted from a series of sources having descending priorities. Also note that the condition that applies each priority rule. For example, here is the source requisition charge account. This is the priority. If you let me increase this priority and value type and the value. The rule here as cross business unit and requisition charge account all is not null. For the user preferred account, the same transaction account tube expense, sub inventory expense account, inventory, item assets indicators, no, inventory item, ship to organization, and so on. So here is defaulted without any configuration required. For this example, assume that this PO has no backing requisition, that is, has an expense destination type, and that the charge account is defaulted from the requester's HR default expense account. In other words, for the priority 6 here, employee charge account is applied. Next, verify that the requester's default expense account is set up in HCM person management. So for this case, BO without backing requisition, that is, has an expense destination type, and charge account is defaulted from requester's HR default expense account. So the priority 6, this employee charge account is applied. Next, you have to verify that the requester's default expense account is set up in HCM person management. To navigate person management from navigator, search the requester by name and check or click requester name and navigate to the person management page and manage employment to verify that the default expense account is populated. Let me check if I have access to the person management from the navigator. But I think I don't have person management. Okay, for example, this is for your information. For the setup tab to third one as a default variance account, you have to repeat step 1 and 2 and select predefined the let again come back done. Again go to select purchasing variance account rule from manage account rule purchasing variance account rule. The predefined purchasing variance account rule. Also, the variance account is defaulted without any configuration required. According to the predefined rule, the variance account is defaulted from a series of sources having descending priorities. Also, note the condition that fires each priority rule. For this rule, source requisition variance account, what is the condition? Requisition variance account all is not null. Second one as a second priority, BO charge account, this is the condition. Ship to organization price variance account, this is a condition. And purchasing trade organization, this is the condition. So now, for the setup default accrual account, you have to set up, you have to make the mapping, as I showed you before, between, for example, business unit and the appropriate account. For the default charge account, for the variance account and the charge account, we said they will be defaulted without any configuration required. Thanks for watching. I hope now you got a brief about tab, TAT, TAT, how the accounting is defaulted, and also I will make another video regarding a custom specific case as a custom business case from scratch. Appreciate your comments, appreciate your questions. If you like my content, just subscribe. Thanks.